you might need help to help you find that answer. You know what you need?
What do I need?
The new Dare Iced Coffee Cold Brew Latte, now available heated at a store near you.
In specifically in Australia, but yeah.
Well, yeah, when I say a store near you, I mean specifically you.
Mm-hmm.
Max.
Max Angel?
Max, you.
Okay, so Seether does confirm that he hasn't played a series versus Justice Simon, so the lower bracket is a little bit held up due to Justice Simon and Akon Saises still being in their series. It's possible that once we finish with this semis, we'll be able to jump into that.
Here is hoping. But speaking of hoping, here we are in the top left-hand corner map, spawning in the top left-hand corner of Nightshade. LE, of course, standing for landing encouragement. Landing encouragement. That's when you are on a plane and the pilots are very worried, so you have to encourage them to land. Otherwise, you know, it's still gonna be in the air forever. In the top left-hand corner of the map, spawning in the top left-hand corner of the map, it is gonna be a teal Terran, all the way from Brisbane? Question mark? Yeah. Representing Legacy Esports, we have the GPO champion himself, the man with the harpoon. It is Azure. Hi.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Nightshade LE, we have the Australian Protoss, also actually representing Legacy Esports as well. We have the Protoss player from Melbourne, Australia. It is Probe.
So a little bit of a team kill, but you also have that added bonus of that city rivalry coming along.
Yeah.
And Brisbaneans can't stand the Melbourneese and vice versa.
I don't know if you can say that, Yaku. Oh God. But yeah, this is a matchup that I feel like happens pretty regularly here in this tournament, but we haven't really managed to cast very many of them. Azure versus Probe, that is.
Yeah, funnily enough, when I think of Azure and TVP, I normally think of like Azure versus Pez or Azure versus Justice Simon. And when I think of Probe PvT, I also think of Probe versus Azure, but the thing is, we haven't casted it.
Yeah. When I think of series we've casted, I think more of like Probe versus Seether. We've done that a couple of times. But yeah, it's definitely cool to see. Literally once. But it's definitely cool to see Azure here. You know, he's kind of a veteran of GPO, go up against, I guess, the veteran of ESL.
Yeah, he is the first player to ever eliminate Demi in a Grand Lapis Open, and now he has a little bit of a rival in front of him, in that being Probe. They do meet every now and then. I mean, there have only been 6 ESL Fueled by Dares, but they've met more than twice, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and I will say that this is probably a little bit of an uphill battle for Azure, because I feel like this is probably his weakest matchup. He does often struggle against players like Beastork or Justice Simon.
But I think he knows this, as he's going for a, how should I describe the 3-Rax build to you, Light? It's definitely, you know, something to use to sort of punch your Protoss opponent before they can really get a lot of their heavy hitters, let's say.
Yeah, it's kind of like striking your opponent before they've charged up, so to say. And we do have some thick boys coming out for Azure. We have Marauders.
Indeed, we do. With Concussive Shell, no stim yet. but we will await for that. It looks like Azure, he's just going straight for it without stim. Not too sure how I feel about this. He's pulling the boys.
Oh my god. All right, he's pulling
Okay,
the
not that
boys.
many boys.
Yeah, I imagine it's to throw down
Bunker rush.
bunkers. Yep, at the front. Meanwhile, Probe, he hasn't scouted at all, so he doesn't know that this is coming to him. He does have a single shield battery for defense, but a single shield battery isn't going to be enough. I imagine. We'll see.
Maybe. We do have Blink on the way for Azure. For Probe, sorry. And I think that Observer might have seen the army. But yeah, this army of Probe not quite in position yet. This is our Artosis Pylon. This is our Artosis Pylon Light. This is our Artosis Pylon, and it is down. And yeah, Azure now chewing down these probes of Probe. Not quite gonna be able to end the game here. Marauders, they do pretty well against Stalkers, but not too well versus Probes. But in the end, I don't know, like 7 probes and a pylon. I mean, I guess.
I mean, it's
exactly all in there, but for the cost of that much bio and 4 SCVs, I'm not sure who came out on top of this fight.
I kind of want to give the edge to Probe. I mean, now he's on the offensive. At home, there is a bunker full of units, but that's kind of it. Meanwhile, Blink is already done. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Probe still being a little bit conservative with that Blink, not really blinking up into the main just yet. Quick reactions coming out from Azure. Will be able to repair this bunker real quick, but a couple of workers, a couple of SCVs have gone down. Azure, he is prepared. He knows that Probe has Blink and should be at least suspicious of Observer, so he's sort of covering his bases there. Meanwhile, this bunker looks like it could have gone down, but Azure does not want to take that risk at all. Going to be pulling his army back already. Now, chasing away Probe, which is absolutely what you want to do.
Yeah, nicely done there by Azure. But at the end, again, like, I don't know how I feel about that early push that didn't really accomplish much, especially because he lost 4 workers himself. So he kind of like traded almost evenly, I guess. Yeah,
roughly,
it was very odd. It was very. I'm perplexed by said push. Yeah,
but,
I mean.
Yeah, but Azure isn't down by too much. He is only down. Okay, now he's down by 6. But he's got his 3rd base up and running. Probe does as well, but for the Terran player to be about equal on bases with the Protoss player, that's about ideal at this stage of the game. We go for a bit of a multi-pronged drop here, and we're gonna have to see what happens, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, the drop could deal a lot of damage, especially since these Blink Stalkers are out on the other side of the map. They won't be at home for defense. So Azure does have that going for him as he is expanding pretty aggressively forward towards his opponents. As Probe is already getting his
for Terran.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit iffy because Azure is going for Widow Mines rather than tanks, but that's a very defensible 3rd base if you're Terran. Or if you're playing Terran.
And it looks like Probe hasn't noticed this drop, actually, even though he had vision.
Well, yeah, I think he was a little bit distracted there, looking at the main army of Azure, as he does set up for a multi-prong. Very quick probe pull here, but Azure, he's trying to go in at the other end. A lot of charges coming in here, but the mine shots are pretty dang good. Azure not going to be pulling a Pez just yet, because he knows he cannot push into that.
Yeah, I do like this drop. It has dealt a pretty significant amount of damage, but meanwhile, at the same time, there is harassment going down at the main base of Azure, and he does lose 5 workers as well.
Indeed, he does.
So in the end, I still feel like this kind of favors Probe. He was able to defend. He was able to deal harassing damage.
The army supply.
He was able to deal harassing damage as well. And now we do have Colossus on the way, so he will have that AoE available to him in his main army. Azure, again, he's been going for these harassments, these pushes, but they haven't really dealt as much damage as he would have liked.
No, it has not. Now, Azure looks to be setting up for a push here as he does go for it, but he's below on army supply. He does not even have the right army to take this on, I would say. Oh, but here comes a massive drop from Azure.
Oh, did the Zealot spot
Is he
it?
gonna go for the natural?
It looks like he is going to go to the natural, which I mean, I do like a drop more than like a push towards the third base. But Probe, he is already in position at his natural, as yeah, he does have vision of that area with his observer.
And he does. Just gonna be getting that ready there. Thermal lance being researched by Probe. A couple of quick scans here as Azure, he needs to know where the army is of Probe right now, and he's about to find it. Already a medevac with a lot of bio does go down. Azure, he's gonna escape from there, but yeah, it's not the best push.
Yeah, he lost the drop and a little bit more there for not much. I mean, he does have a couple of Widowmines here, which is nice. He's able to get a couple of nice shots off, but there's no follow-up. You know, they were just kind of used up, and now we finally have Probe starting to push out with his Colossus.
And he does. And things are looking very, very dicey.
Yeah, very much so for Azure. I mean, he's trying to find an angle to dive in. Yeah, he is up on workers. You know, there is that as well going for him. He does have a fourth base as well. It's that he's flying to location. Ooh, almost is able to snipe that War Prism with the Widowmine. Nicely done there. But again, it does kind of come down to the main army and how they look against each other. Do you feel like either Liberators or Ghosts with EMPs are something that Azure needs right now, and it doesn't quite have, as the upgrade is starting. It's not quite done yet.
Well, more importantly, there aren't any ghosts on the map right now, which, to be fair, when you're facing this kind of Protoss composition, the very Colossus-heavy one, it's not the most essential tool that you need right now, but it's actually looking like Azure is in a pretty defensible position, if not for the Warp Prism, as more and more charges are just picking Azure apart right now, and this is... It's looking like it's now or never. It's looking like either Probe kills Azure now, or he kills him 5 minutes after I say that.
Yeah, these ults are just doing so much damage, and the Warp Prism is going up into the main base as well. The main army for Probe is posturing here, denying that fourth base from Azure, as the Warp Prism did go down in the end, but the Zealous is still alive. Finally get cleaned up.
That's 17 SCVs, like.
Oh my god.
17.
That's too much SCVs.
Yeah, that in fact it is. I mean, he's not that far behind compared to Probe. It's only 11 workers. And his army, it's looking a lot better now than it was earlier. If this Ghost can get a good EMP off and the Vikings come in to clear out the rest of the Stalkers, it's... things can happen, but
yeah, it's just unfortunate that there's only one Ghost with this army. Like, this is the only unit that he's relying on for EMPs. He's kind of, oh my god, no!
It's a good snipe, and it gets sniped. Now he does not even have EMP to his advantage. He is relying so heavily on his bio and his Vikings right now. But now the Disruptors are out, and that's... Disruptors are not the most reliable AoE, but they also don't have a direct counter.
I was like in the middle of going into like, this Ghost is Azure's life right now. He needs to keep it alive, and immediately got sniped by the Disruptor. Here we have the armies pushing it off.
Look at that. Okay, that last shot does get denied, as we do see Azure manage to snipe that Disruptor, but this one won't. And that's another juicy connection here. Azure just going straight for it. He does not even care anymore. These Vikings are taking out the Colossus, but there's still the ground army to worry about. And now with the Blink Forward, with the Stalkers, not a lot of Vikings in the air right now for Azure. This is looking to be the beginning of the end light.
Yeah, and honestly, what's surprising is Azure, he traded fairly well, but in the end, it wasn't enough. GG.
Was it well, though?
Probe takes game number 1. Yeah, like, comparing the army sizes, and especially the Disruptor hits that happened, like, Azure was able to chip away at the majority of Probe's army in the end.
I would say, like,
Yeah.
I would say that if the disruptor shots hit well, you are not training well if you're the Terran player.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But he was able to chip away at the majority of Probe's army. In the end, though, he did keep all of his disruptors alive. And yeah, he was able to just continue on his
It wasn't really
pressure.
the disruptors that were the main issue there. It was the stalkers that were kept alive, which really helped Probe. As we did see that very aggressive Blink 4 takes out very quickly snipes the Vikings. So there's still a Colossus or two. Was it one Colossus or was it two? Well, enough Colossus is the answer to that. And
Yeah,
that's
there just
very
wasn't
much
enough there for Azure.
Yeah, that's very much a dynamic in TvP. You know, certain units counter the other units, so it's definitely a bit of a game of who takes out those units first. As you see there, Probe, you know, getting some really good snipes with his disruptors, taking out the ghosts and whatnot, and keeping his stalkers back until he found a very good opening there and just blinks forward to take out the Vikings.
Yeah, Azure's ghosts did not have a good time that game. They they were almost immediately focused down. I don't even know if I saw an EMP go off.
They did towards the end there, but
yeah,
I think he whiffed one, and then the other was not quite the big connection that he wanted. But speaking of big connections, we are on Eternal Empire, LEELE, otherwise known as ELE, which obviously stands for Extra Exonerated Liberators Everywhere. That's the name of an album by Elite Torn Chieftain, I'm pretty sure. In the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, it is going to be a Teal Terran, all the way from Brisbane, Australia. He is now the man with Harpoon himself, but can he catch himself a probe? Let's find out. For representing Legacy Esports, we have Azure.
and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Eternal Empire LE, we have the Australian Protoss representing Legacy Esports, currently up 1-0 in this best of 3. It is Probe.
And now we wait.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I'm gonna say hopefully we don't see that that Marauder push again. It didn't. It's such a shame because what was perplexing about it is that Probe had no scouting of it at all, but he was still able to defend relatively well against it. So it was kind of like Azure's almost best case scenario. Like you know, it didn't get scouted. It was like for the most part a surprise, but you know, there was a shield battery there.
Yeah, I would say it was two things. One, Probe playing it a little bit safe because, you know, when you don't scout your opponent, you generally want to play it a bit more safe, especially if your name is Probe and you're already acting Deputy Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that's just sort of normally how Probe would play that, but it's also his reaction times. He saw with his, I think he shaded out with an Adept towards the very end there, and he saw, oh no, this is a big bio ball. I need to position my stalkers in the right area.
Yeah, and he was able to pull his stalkers all the way back. He exposed that Artosis pylon, but in the end, it didn't really matter. It did soak up a lot of damage, and there was some solid defense there by Probe. As here, you're getting into game number 3, and we'll see what Azure decides to whip out this time.
Well, it ain't a 3-Rax, I can tell you that.
It is not.
Oh, going for Reacted Hellions. Interesting. You think we might see no, that's the Armory.
Yep.
This is going to be a Hellbat push.
That it is. Again, hidden in the back main of Azure. We'll see if Probe is able to scout or is able to get wind of what is coming his way. As he is being very, very active with his scouting probe. Trying to see if there's a proxy or something.
He just canceled those Hellions and got mines.
Okay, interesting. I wonder.
Sure.
I wonder what it was that he scouted that triggered that from happening. Um, because yeah, he's switched things up to go for a mine drop instead.
Huh. Well, alrighty then. Oh, that's why you got the armory.
Yeah, drilling
Jeez.
claws.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? Not a bad idea. We do see the third mine just about ready to pop. Probe, he's generally known for having some pretty quick reaction times, but honestly, if you're not expecting drilling claws this early, then it can definitely blindside him. The medevac is out.
Yeah, nicely done there by Probe.
No,
He's
it's
able
getting
to
out.
surround the Reaper. And I do wonder if Azure, if he had originally planned for a Hellbat drop and then changed, and then this is like his transition into making something out of his opener.
I think he got the. No, I think that was planned. I think he did in fact get the reactor for 2 Widow Mines, but because he knew he had a bit of a mineral bank that he needs to make use of, he decided to get the 2 Hellions in order to do some poking, do a little bit of scouting over at Probe's base, and then 2 Widow Mines out, gonna swap it over to that tech lab, get drilling claws, and now we're gonna see what he can do with them.
Yeah, there are already Stalkers defensively placed at the natural. Blink is about to finish up as well, so he may even pounce on that medevac. But they are moving out of position though. Oh, never mind. he's here. He's waiting.
Yeah, it's the old saying in StarCraft where if you do see something coming your way, some form of harass, you keep your units there until you're absolutely certain that they're away. Oh, gets the snipes some medevac. And does what you get in one of these mines as well. Alright, actually very nicely done by Probe. He even has the Observer out.
Yeah, he has the Observer out, so even though they're invisible, it doesn't quite matter, and all of the Widow Mines get taken out. I think he killed a single Probe.
Not the best investment there.
Not at all, especially since he invested into drilling claws of all things. We do have a secondary drop though, moving out across the top side of the map, so we'll see if these Widow Mines are able to find anything. But again, they run right into an Observer. Knowledge
is absolutely half the battle here, and Probe, he understands this very well.
Yeah, he's basically playing this like pig baby. He has so many observers surrounding his bases, and oh my god, no!
A little bit indecisive there, Azure, and he does get his medevac and the mine sniped, not even dropping them, and yeah, things are not looking too well for Azure.
His investment into drilling claws hasn't really come into play at all, and he's lost what six or five Widow Mines already, 2 medevacs, and Probe is going to be feeling amazing right now.
He is absolutely the embodiment of feels amazing, man. I bet you if I tune into his stream right now, his webcam would just be him smiling.
Yeah, and it's such a rough position to be in as Azure. I mean, he's not out of it yet, but he does need to find a way to deal some kind of damage, whether it's economic damage or some kind of army efficient trade. He needs something to go for him.
That he does. Getting a couple of these observers out here and there.
That's a start. But still, gotta find something else. I don't know, maybe he'll go for another drop. It's so hard though because there's so many observers out on the map that Probe should be prepared for anything coming into his third or his natural.
Yeah, this is. I mean, I don't know how many. I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but I mean, sure, he's just looking not good at all. But he'll definitely try if he just really focuses down, he hammers down the production buttons, maybe he'll be able to max out really quick.
I imagine that
even then, he'll have, what does he max out on is going to be the question. He needs knowledge of what Probe is building. He needs to know how to react.
Exactly. He needs to know what army composition Probe is going for, so he can, he can counter and react, as you said, whether it's making Vikings for Colossus or if it's a more gateway heavy army to get Ghosts out faster. And yeah, we'll see what Azure is able to do with the knowledge that he has. and he looks like he's pushing out on the map.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of do or die. He knows if you just look at the lost units tab, he has lost quite a bit. He needs to slow down the expansion of the Protoss player, and whether or not it works out, we're about to find out.
Yeah, he is positioning himself for that 4th base, but Probe is already here with his main army, with Colossus as well.
Very nice position on the Widow Mines, having them on top of the tank. That makes it all covered, but now there's just way too much for the Protoss player, and these Marauders not even able to escape with their lives.
Azure is pushed back. At the same time, though, he is trying to drop the natural of Probe. There's still observers here, and Probe, he's moving his army to reposition, but they are, quite a ways away. He does have defensive stalkers here, though.
And the Disruptor, he better pray that he does the Disruptor himself. Another medevac full of bio going down. And I'm not sure just how many of these Azure can really take light. I don't know. I think maybe Azure. I'm going back to the very basics because I'm trying to think what can Azure do, right? And I'm going back to the very basics of StarCraft, which is your opponent defends, expand, your opponent expands, attack, your opponent attacks, defend. Maybe Azure might be safe to go greedy, but again, it's hard to tell when his opponent's playing this well.
Yeah, I mean, good job there. Azure does kill the 4th base of Probe, and he's trying to snipe the Colossus, but it does back away, and the army gets completely surrounded.
Yeah, he does a brilliant sandwiching coming out from Probe. And again, if we just look at the lost units tab, it's a very big investment from Azure that's just getting Thanos snapped out of here.
Yeah, I mean, Azure, he is working on his 4th base, but we'll see if he can even hold the push long enough for him to establish that, as Probe is finally here across the map with his Disruptors and Colossus.
Look at the supply, as a wise man once said, and it is looking like Probe, he is going to have a very good time pushing in here. Blinks forward. There's not quite the mine count here to really halt Probe's army. GG is called. And for the 5th time in ESL Open Cup Fueled by Dare, Probe is going to be making it to the finals, potentially clinching his 4th championship.
That he does. Wow, and it's a little bit unfortunate that there were a couple of players that got taken out earlier that I'm sure would have liked their chance against Probe, mainly me and Micah. Didn't quite have a shot there. But yeah, Probe does advance to the finals, and we'll see who is going to meet him there.
We shall, in fact, find out now. Now, trying to figure out if Justice Simon and not Akon Tistes, Akon Cises, has finished.
Yeah, it looks like, even though it hasn't been reported, I'm pretty sure they have finished, as Seether is no longer in the lobby. So, sorry, in the chat.
He's busy.
Is he? Oh, he is. Oh, then I guess they're still going? Are they still going?
Either that or Seether already played. No, wait, but then he go up against Demi? I don't. We'll find out is the answer to that. By the way, Jet over in chat has just redeemed another group, please. So we might be looking forward to seeing that.